Hello, I'm Brendan Evans here, and I'm joined by Larry Cochran, the Richmond High School Athletic Director. Mr. Cochran, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
We're going to go through on our first segment ever of Inside Richmond Athletics. I know me and you talked a little bit ago. We're going to do this monthly or close to it as we can. You're a busy guy. We'll talk a little bit into that in a second. But can you just talk to me a little bit about what kind of your job is and like how much you do around Richmond athletics?
Well, basically you're trying to run a whole athletic department, in a program, and, from scheduling events to contracts to scheduling officials to making sure that teams show up on time, officials show up on time, the contests run in the right direction, that people are doing what they're supposed to do as far as behaving at contests. There's a lot that goes into it. I'm at a lot of events. I'm fortunate here that I also have a lot of help. Mr. Hill being my assistant AD and some event managers that help us because it would be very difficult to do everything that we have to do at the middle school and the high schools without a bunch of people helping.
Mr. Cochran, I just want to take a look back at a couple of seasons that have ended so far. Football ending 2-9, not quite the success you guys wanted, but obviously an improvement from 0-10, but the bigger picture on that is Coach Lewis deciding to leave and go somewhere else, but signing the new football coach, Coach Sonsini. Can you walk me through a little bit of what the process of like finding a new coach and getting obviously a hire?
Sure. First of all, with the previous football season, I do want to mention I think we made great strides. People really always want to look at the wins and losses, and that's not necessarily the case. We were very competitive in 4 or 5 football games this year, whereas the previous season, it was a real struggle. The coaches tried hard and the kids tried hard. So, and then with Coach Lewis deciding to get back closer to family with an opportunity, obviously we were looking for a coach, and Coach Sonsini applied for the position. He's been in the building. He's been in Richmond his entire life. He played football here. And he stuck out this time around in the interview process.
All right, and then I want to look at another sport, wrestling. Obviously hosted the sectionals. I'll ask you about that here in just a second. But can you walk me through how was the season like for the wrestlers on your?
They did really well. As a matter of fact, we hosted the regional, not the sectional. But Coach Capps has done a great job of building that program, and he filled every weight class this year. And for that bunch to get second in the sectional, I think when he came in, we weren't filling weight classes. That was prior to me arriving as the athletic director. He has a great bond with his kids. Having 2 wrestlers get to the semi-state and just missing out on state tickets, state finals tickets by losing in the round that's called the ticket round at the semi-state. And those kids are back next year with a lot of his other kids. They just do a really super job, and Coach Capps is to be commended for starting that program and building it.
I know you weren't around for all of it, but I want to look at gymnastics a little bit. 7 years ago, we really didn't. We were close to not having a gymnastics team at all. Can you walk me through a little bit of what the process was like and what it was like to go from almost not having a gymnastics team at all to placing 9th at the state competition?
Well, my only experience obviously is the last 2 years, and I can tell you, Richmond's very fortunate, the high school and the kids, to have the coaches we do. Justine and Justin Boggs are involved with the club that Justine works at, and has developed a relationship with those kids. And some of those kids started at a young age, and to be honest with you, I think it's really remarkable what they accomplished this year. They went to the regionals probably with expectations of obviously doing their best, but to finish runner-up to Columbus North, who's a state power, says a lot about the kids and their coaches. And I know with most of those kids coming back next year, I really think that they'll set their sights higher on a 9th place finish.
And then obviously going into a little bit of what the sports are going into is going to be your baseball, softball. I know I'm missing one.
Well, you've got track and golf and tennis, baseball, softball right now, and those are just getting started. Hopefully the weather will cooperate next week when we actually start the seasons for most of them. Track started last week. We do have a new head coach in Brittany Gettinger, and she's doing a great job. with the young folks as the assistant coaches are, and they'll get kids prepared and ready for conference and sectional with the meets coming up and getting them in shape. And our numbers are really good as far as kids that are going out for teams. And so, softball and baseball will continue to get their numbers up. Look for them to be, really competitive this year. But again, I don't necessarily ever measure it in wins or losses. I just want to see improvement.
Right, and you mentioned just a moment ago, and it's been a common theme through almost every sport, is the numbers of kids actually coming out to play has gone up over the past few years. What do you think was a big factor in that?
Well, yeah, I think you have to have the right people involved that relate to kids, that make it enjoyable. High school sports can't be work. I mean, it is work, but it also has to be fun, but yet competitive. So when you try to mix all those together, sometimes that's difficult. And, getting kids to work really hard, yet find it fun, to create a competitive environment sometimes is difficult. But I think we're getting there in a lot of areas with some of the folks we have in place. And I think that we will only see that continue.
And then to look back a little bit, what was it like hosting, from your aspect, the wrestling regional and the basketball sectional?
We have a great facility, and we have great facilities there. We have great people here in Richmond. It takes a lot of people to run those events. We have a lot of volunteers. We have workers that this community has relied on for years, long before I got here, that continue to come out and work for us and support. And if you don't have that, you can't run big events. And I know that we get a lot of compliments when we host events, and hopefully we'll continue. The IHSA will give us those opportunities, and we'll keep striving to get as many events as the IHSA will give us.
I just want to take a look. What's next for Richmond athletics from here on?
We're just going to keep working hard for our kids. Coaches will keep working hard. We want it to be a competitive experience as well as a good experience. And hopefully, that'll lead us to a little bit more success. I think, right now we're standing about 5th in the all NCC standings out of 10. And, you always want to strive for your athletic program to be competitive. 5th's not first, but I think we're making strides in that area. And if we can get all our teams to be competitive, then I think that'll develop some consistency.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.